everybody. Welcome back to Amazon Suspension Trends. Chris McCabe here, taking you through some things we see sellers doing that typically result in a suspension or at least a call from account health or a message saying they have 72 hours to appeal to keep their account going. And also, I want to talk about things people do to try to boost their sales, changes to their detail pages that may upset or upend their Apple cart, just overreaching, whether it's keywords that might be trademarked, things like that, that are kind of constitute a form of self-sabotage. And no time of the year is good for self-sabotage. I'm recording this in Q4, and it's a shame because this is a very competitive environment right now on Amazon. It's not a good time with heavier duty impact of tariffs rolling in, fees coming back in a big way in 2026. I understand the reason for the overreach and trying to make up for some lost time or lost sales. Not a good time to be making those mistakes. Amazon's incredibly inhospitable to people who color outside the lines. They're not going to really care if it's out of financial desperation or not. And I don't think they're going to care if you're just copping to making a mistake and taking responsibility and pleading ignorance, saying, well, we thought we could get away with it. You wouldn't say that, but we thought we could do it because we misunderstood the policies around detail page creation, detail page merges, listing ASIN merges, improper variation creation, things like that. Those are not good reasons. You're probably not going to get much of a sales boost out of some of the tricks I see people pushing online anyway. If you're caught doing some of these things, they might just say, look, in Seller Central, give you the option to admit it, confess it. If it's something that you were caught dead to rights, then of course, there's no real way to dispute it. They do give you the option to correct them if they're wrong or dispute it if it's not accurate. And you can try that. But if they see that you made these listing changes, if you can't prove that it's a glitch or an error on their side, technical or otherwise, and if you have no evidence or breadcrumbs that lead them to believe a competitor did something to you through a vendor central loophole, then you're caught. And you have to cop to it, and you have to explain how it happened, however misguided it may have been. A lot of people are throwing their agencies under the bus. Some people told me they were planning on getting rid of their agency anyway, for whatever reason, and they ended up just blaming their agency. I mean, that might make sense to an Amazonian, but they're still going to hold you responsible for something an agency employee did on your behalf. I would ask you to lean heavily on the corrective steps you've taken. You do have to point out the missteps in some degree of detail. You don't have to overdo it. They don't ask for a plan of action most of the time anymore. You do have to address the topic and talk about mistakes, failures, gaps, operational oversight, whatever it might have been. But the corrective measures have to convince Amazon that this will not happen again. I don't recommend promising that if you're not sure that you can prevent it from happening again. But you have to run a tight ship. You have to clean up missteps in your operation. Several sellers I talked to, I guess, had unseasoned VAs or untrustworthy VAs doing things to listings on their behalf without having any compliance background, without having any ability to understand the damage they could create. Part of that might be because it's a VA and a lot of VAs are overseas and they don't know you and you might not know them and they can disappear on you. So maybe they're not incentivized to do a good job. Or they're not incentivized to prevent mistakes that could be damaging to your account. I'm not bashing all VAs. I'm just saying this is something that comes up quite frequently in the work that we do. So if you're using a VA who has no compliance understanding, no background on Amazon policy pages or possible consequences, then that's not something your VA should be working on. It's too high risk and volatile for you to have a lower tier employee responsible for it. I know that's trendy to have VAs doing everything under the sun for you. I'm just not a believer in that. Secondly, some people have taken to blaming their SAS core managers for making improper suggestions with mixed success. Some people are even writing escalations because their appeals get rejected. And if they are blaming their SAS core manager, or if they are blaming a VA or blaming an employee or an agency, and they get rejected, they just immediately start sending things to Jeff at Amazon, the executive seller relations email, as it's known, or to execs at Amazon whose emails are known to sellers. just making it worse, and not sending the type of content that execs at Amazon are used to seeing, or they expect to see, which is a high level document or appeal or proper communication to the head of an entire area of marketplace management. We're just seeing a lot of sort of sloppy, unprofessional content. Maybe it's people using ChatGPT to write it. I'm not sure why, if you were sending things to Andy Jassy, you'd want to rely on ChatGPT and just sort of mail it in that way. But we are seeing those types of mistakes. We're seeing compounded mistakes where it gets worse and worse based on the choices you make in terms of how you clean things up. Also making corrections to detail pages. Make sure you call catalog properly. Make sure you get the keywords, if that was the issue, removed on Amazon side on the back end, so that you don't have to spend a lot of time going in circles with appeals getting rejected because you didn't make sure the changes to those detail pages reflected on the back end. I know some of this is rudimentary for established brands, for people who don't make basic mistakes. I just wanted to spend one episode of this going over it, because you would be surprised at the questions we get, the approaches people take. Some of it's just out of general ignorance. Some of it is desperation, I suppose, for trying to increase sales. Some of it's just a sales pitch that they heard and they just bought it hook, line, and sinker. So I just thought I'd have a short video on this today to reinforce the notion that you're only hurting yourself if you believe what you want to believe and see what you want to see. Probably good to attach a filter to any of these promises, sales pitches, aggressive tactics, things you hear about, things you see presentations at events about. Attach a filter so you can look at things the way somebody at Amazon would look at it. That's pretty important to avoid some of the nightmares we see on a consistent basis at e-commerce, Chris. So happy to discuss this with you further. You know where to reach us, support at e-commerce, Chris. We've also opened up a WhatsApp emergency helpline for people. So go to our site, check us out, and let us know if there's any questions. Thanks.